solo travel for the amazing experiences that I have and the introspection that I gain. I also love meeting and connecting with new people when I travel. So how do you blend the best of both worlds on a solo trip? Getting that solo experience, but also experiencing connection with others. For me, it involves consciously creating opportunities for that to happen on my trip. Otherwise, I tend to find some loneliness creeping in. Remember Liz Gilbert in Eat, Pray, Love? I mean, every woman wanted to be her after reading that book or watching that movie. Her travels were filled with new friendships that transformed her journey into this rich, life-changing experience. So in this video, I'm going to share the things that I do to blend the joys of solo travel with the enriching experience of making new friends. Stick around until the end because the last two tips virtually guarantee that you're going to make new friends and go on a fantastic adventure. Here's the method that I use to meet new friends on my solo trips. So first, it starts with where I choose to stay and why that matters. When I'm traveling for a month at a time or longer, it's typically more affordable to book an Airbnb. So this tip doesn't apply to that situation. However, if I'm taking a shorter trip, I opt for more social places to stay, like, maybe a bed and breakfast or a small inn or a small boutique hotel, or even if it's a larger hotel, just one that has a cool bar area. Because the bar is, for me, a good spot to have dinner in the evening, and I almost always end up chatting with my fellow guests. If it's a bed and breakfast or an inn, those are great for meeting people because breakfast is included, and it's typically in a dining room around a large table with other people staying there, so it's just easy to have conversations. I know some solo travelers like to stay in hostels because of communal areas and more opportunities to meet new people. I just personally am not a hostel traveler, but it could be an option that you might want to explore. I've also just recently joined this Facebook group. It's called Host a Sister that you might want to check out as well. Here are some things that this group offers. Finding free accommodations with a local sister while traveling, finding a local sister to meet up with in her hometown or to meet up with other sisters traveling to the same location. You can share your home with other women who are traveling to your hometown, or offer your friendship to another sister who's traveling and help her explore your hometown. Or you can even find a female travel buddy and plan a trip together. So what a great group. Definitely plan on getting more involved with it in the future, and I've linked it below for you as well. Next up, when traveling solo, take a local class. When I plan a solo trip, I research local classes that I might be interested in taking. I enroll in a cooking class or a language course or any other type of workshop that interests me. For example, if I'm going to France, I may take a small group baking class or even a graffiti workshop. That sounds like so much fun. If I'm in the States and stay in, let's say, Chicago, maybe I'll take a mixology class or a photography class that visits points of interest in the city to photograph. These kinds of activities are excellent for meeting locals with similar interests and just really immersing yourself in a city's culture. They're great opportunities to make new friends as you travel. If you're interested in that, just Google classes in, say, Chicago when you're planning your next trip, and you'll find a list of different ones to check out. The third thing I do on my solo trips is to attend a meetup group or expat gathering. So say I'm planning a trip to Florence, Italy. I'll go to meetup.com and look at the events posted for the time frame that I'm going to be there. I'll find happy hour meetups or dinner meetups or expat gatherings. And speaking of expats, search expat groups on Facebook in the location of the trip that you're going to. So let's say Italy, to see if there are any events during the time frame that you'll be there. They're going to show you gatherings that expats are going to be going to, and it's a great way to meet other people who are exploring the area or actually live in the area. Next up, engage with Facebook groups. So join Facebook groups like Women Solo Travels and post about your trip. You might find someone who will be in the same destination at the same time that you can actually connect with. These groups are excellent resources for advice, tips, and making connections before, during, and after your travels. I've linked this group in the description for you. One of my favorite things to do when solo traveling to make friends is to go on walking tours and group tours. They are such a fun way to learn about the city you're in and meet new people, and they are relatively inexpensive, around $40. So choose a walking tour instead of one of those hop on, hop off bus tours. Those are informative. However, they're not good for meeting and connecting with people. When I take a walking tour, like exploring historic churches in Prague or haunted buildings in New Orleans, I always interact with other tour participants. It just happens naturally. Also, look for day tours from the places that you're visiting. All of these types of tours can be found on TripAdvisor. So what you'll do is search for things to do, pop in your location, and you'll find so many different options. These types of tours are usually on a tour bus and last half a day or a full day, which definitely provides opportunities to connect with fellow travelers, and you may even end up with dinner plans together. Now, when I'm on a solo trip, I try to schedule a day when I'll take a tour, and then I have the next day off when I just have some time on my own for some downtime. Okay, the things I've talked about so far can be used for any solo trip you plan. However, I'm also sharing with you 2 more ways to plan a solo trip, with the primary goal being making new connections and forging new friendships, instead of the goal being where you're actually going. Let's talk about planning your trip around a particular passion, volunteer work, or a learning opportunity. I recommend booking a retreat for your next trip. While not technically solo travel because you're going to be with other people, retreats offer a chance to meet others with similar interests. So whether it's a writing retreat, a yoga retreat, horseback riding, or sailing, you'll find a community and your people when you go on one of these. There are several websites that list a variety of retreats to choose from all over the world and at lots of different price points. This is a great way to combine your passion with traveling, and then you meet new friends who share in those passions with you. So I've linked a couple of retreat sites that I use in the description below. Okay, next, if you love to learn, you're going to love Road Scholar. So Road Scholar plans these trips in the United States and overseas where you're an active learner, not just a passive tourist. Every day, it's thoughtfully planned to open your eyes to new discoveries, ideas, and people. So you learn from an expert faculty and you meet other travelers who share a love of learning and adventure. Also, they are not for profit, so their focus is on the experience and the value that they give you. Some examples of trips you can take with Road Scholar are nature hiking in the Appalachian Mountains for 6 days with a guide. It's a small group, your accommodation and your meals are included, and it's $1,349. Or learning about the history and architecture of Asheville, North Carolina at Christmas time. You can have a 6-day, 5-night trip with 11 meals for just a little over $2,000. So I've linked the Road Scholar site in the description. Check it out. This is a game changer for solo travelers because you're going to meet other people who love to learn and are interested in exploring some of the same things that you're interested in. Okay, last but not least is volunteer trips for older adults. So if you're anything like me, you don't necessarily want to volunteer on an overseas project with a bunch of college-age kids. I mean, I would like to meet people in a similar phase of life as me. So I recommend International Volunteer HQ to find a volunteer opportunity that you might be interested in. I've linked it below for you. You do pay to go on these volunteer trips, but typically they are much less than if you were planning a trip on your own. These types of programs usually provide accommodation, breakfast and dinner, and sometimes airport pickup. So for example, you could volunteer to help teach English in Rome for 2 weeks. It would cost you about $1,600, but your accommodation and meals are included. And you're doing something good and meeting other volunteers and locals. It's a completely different type of trip than your typical vacation. There are lots of different volunteer programs like sustainable farming, animal care, and teaching in other countries and the United States. So you made it to the end. I hope you got some new ideas for making friends on your solo travels. You know, solo travel can be an incredibly rewarding experience, especially when you blend it with the joy of connecting with others. I've made so many friends in my travels through the years, and we're still connected to this day. Happy travels, and remember, please subscribe for more solo travel tips and inspiration.